everyone. I'm home. Let me just start first by explaining why I haven't uploaded a video in a couple of weeks. Oh, people are starting to shout outside my window now. Great. I literally sit down for the first time in weeks and they start chatting. Anyway, so I went to London, or well, England and Spain for what was supposed to be 4 weeks. And I didn't have enough time to pre-record 10 videos and upload them, so I decided to take my Zoom microphone. But I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with it. I just can't get it to work very well. Like, that was part of the reason. A lot of ASMR artists use it and get great sound with it, and for me it always records super quiet. And if I turn the volume up, I hear a lot of static noise, and I just can't get it to work properly, which is a shame because it's not a cheap microphone and it's much smaller, so it's easier to take when I travel. But I can't seem to get it to work properly. So I recorded like one Patreon video while I was in Spain, and then I recorded a 5-minute clip for Peace and Sorority's collab video, which if you haven't looked at, you should go check it out. She's got over 30 ASMR artists doing some invisible scratching on camera, which is, like, I love visual triggers. It is so relaxing for me to watch, so do go check that out. But yeah, like, I just couldn't get the audio on any of the videos to be well. But the biggest reason was that my parents rent an apartment from other Belgians, and their Wi-Fi has a limit, and none of us know how much that is. But it was taking, like, I uploaded a 15-minute video and it took 10 hours, which already drove me crazy. But I was working from there, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose internet because I had to work, and I was afraid that uploading, like, videos are like 4 or 5 gig. I was worried that that would just put me over the limit. So I ultimately decided to just take a break from YouTube and not record or upload anything while I was there. And then, like, the last week has been just very stressful. Like, pre-warning, I'm going to talk about the coronavirus. If you're tired of hearing about it, I totally get it. I will leave a timestamp down below of when I start talking about my trip in England and Spain. But I don't think it's going to be very long because I didn't do that much in Spain. And the coronavirus kind of affected my life a bit. So I'm just going to talk about what happened. So, as I'm sure most of you know, the coronavirus is like super bad in Europe at the moment, and Spain is the second worst country in Europe. Like, it has the second highest number of cases. So when I went to England, it really wasn't that bad yet. There were, I think, the first few confirmed cases were in England while I was there. I don't think they had any confirmed cases before I went. And Spain, like, wasn't really that bad yet either. So at that time, this was end of February, everyone was still traveling. There wasn't, aside from Italy, which was like getting really bad, nothing was really going on. And then the first week that I was in Spain, so I went to Spain on February 29th, the news in Belgium started reporting on cases there, which was the first time, because school holidays were over and a lot of people had gone skiing in Italy and brought it back, and like, it just, similar to like what happened in Spain, in the 2 weeks that I was there, it just got really bad everywhere. So I was supposed to fly home this Friday, but I was afraid I would get stuck because it was getting to that one's allowed in and out, then I'm not going to be able to leave. And who knows for how long. Like currently they're on lockdown for 15 days, but I think China was on lockdown for 2 or 3 months. Like I think this is going to take months before lockdowns are lifted. So I just didn't want to get stuck. So I wanted to rebook my flights, which was ridiculously expensive. Every flight was 440 euro, which I was not going to spend. I checked it multiple times a day for days, and I found a 10-minute window where the Monday night flight was 46 euro. So I immediately rebooked my flight for free because my flight was more expensive, so I didn't have to pay anything extra. The 10 minutes before, it was 440. The 10 minutes after, it was also back to 440. I don't know why I suddenly found it, but I'm glad I did. So I booked a flight home a bit earlier. Literally, like, my parents, they're obviously retired, so they spend 6 months a year in Spain. And they hang out with a lot of retired people. I think my parents might actually be the youngest of their group. So on Saturday, one of their friends turned 85, and we had like a little birthday party in a bar during the day, of course. And we went for a walk on Saturday morning and noticed that half the bars were open, half the bars were closed. Spain wasn't on lockdown yet at that point, so it was kind of everyone's own choice. But then news started trickling in that they were going to go into lockdown. And literally around 6 p.m., the owner of the bar told us, you can stay as long as you want, but after you leave, I have to close and I can't open anymore. Like, police had been informing everyone. And then from Sunday, it might have been officially Monday, but I think from Sunday, unofficially, the country went into lockdown. So it was weird. It was eerie. Nobody out on the street, and police were strict. They were checking everyone who was outside walking, had to tell them why they were outside. If you wanted to go to the store to get food, you had to go alone. You couldn't go with 2 people. Like, they were literally checking it, and you could get fines up to like 25,000 euro for being out without a reason. So I'd been checking multiple times a day for days to see if my flight was still going, because I thought lockdown, I don't know if the airport's gonna stay open. Like, and I didn't know if Ireland was still gonna allow flights to or from Spain. So I was constantly checking it. Ryanair had announced they were going to stop flying to Spain, I think from today or tomorrow. I always fly with Aer Lingus, so I was like, oh my god, what are they going to do? Aer Lingus then announced they were going to keep flying until Saturday, and I assume after that they're all going to stop. So then on Monday morning, my mom said, I don't think your dad can drive you to the airport. The airport, by the way, is an hour drive away. And I was like, why not? And she said, well, we're not allowed to leave the house. She said, you're allowed to go to the airport if you're flying, but I don't think you're allowed to drive anyone. So we spent like frantically online looking for answers. Nobody could tell us yes or no. So we didn't want to run the risk and ended up calling a taxi, which cost 100 euro. So it's just been a really stressful few days. My anxiety was higher than it's been in a long time, just to try and get me here. And then of course I was at the airport. I want to say it wasn't as busy as usual, but I think I'd be lying. The actual check-in hall was pretty empty. But once you got past security, I felt like there were a lot of people there. But I think it was partly because all the shops and restaurants were closed, so people weren't dispersed along the airport. They were all sitting in the waiting hall, waiting for their gate to be announced. And then once I got to my gate, there were a lot of people there too. I did my best to sit in areas where I could sit at least a meter away from people. I had the row on the plane to myself, literally the entire row. Like, the 2 seats next to me were empty, and then the 3 seats on the other side of the aisle were empty. So there's nobody sitting around me there, and I kind of, try to sleep a little bit. So I don't know. I have to now self-quarantine for 2 weeks. Everyone in Ireland who came from a flight from Spain has been asked to do that. I don't think I would have caught it in Spain because when I left, there had been no reported cases in the town that my parents are in. There's always a chance I caught it at the airport or the plane. I don't know. We'll have to see. I obviously don't want to get it, but I'm not super worried about getting it. I'm more worried about giving it to other people. So I didn't want to go grocery shopping, but I've been gone for 3 weeks. I had no food in the house. So I very often get food delivered, like groceries delivered. And my mom said, why don't you just do that? And I was like, well, their delivery slots are booked out for 8 days. I've never seen that before. And I can't wait 8 days for food. I have some stuff in my freezer, but not 8 days worth. And I don't have breakfast either. So when I came home last night, I wasn't home until 3 a.m. Like, the flight landed at 11, and then I had to take the bus at 11:30, and it's a 3-hour journey. Taxis, barely any. Like, I always call a taxi. Because there's a lot of unofficial taxi drivers driving around in Galway, and I always prefer to get a taxi from like a registered company, so I always call a taxi to come pick me up, and they send someone. But there was no taxi standing outside the bus station. There's always about 5 or 6. The taxi rank in Galway City, which always has like 20 taxis at least, and had 2 taxis in it. And I said to the taxi driver, I was like, I understand that taxi drivers are staying home because there's less people out, but I would have expected, with there being less people out, that there would have been a lot of taxis just available. And he said no. He said it's currently costing them more to have their taxi on the road than they're getting money for it. He said a lot of taxi drivers are going bankrupt because of this. And that's something they don't really talk about. They talk about retail. A lot of people are losing their job in retail. A lot of retail is going bankrupt. They talk about public transport, but nobody ever talks about taxi drivers. And he's right. He said the moment it costs me more to run my car on the road than that I get money for it, I'm going to have to stop. So that scared me a little bit because there's 2 bus companies that go from Dublin Airport to Galway. One had already ceased operations last week. And I thought, man, if the other one ceases operations, I can't even get home. So, and then if I had actually gotten here at 3 in the morning and there were no taxis anywhere, I still wouldn't have gotten home. So I don't know. I just find it really scary what's going on right now. So anyway, after I got home last night, I decided to check the website of the grocery store just to see, and they had a couple of delivery slots available for the next coming days. So I ordered stuff online. So many things were sold out. So it took me like an hour to just find alternatives. I needed to get food for 2 weeks because I'm not technically supposed to go outside too much in 2 weeks. And today I tried to add a couple of things to my ordered €96 worth of stuff yesterday, and when I checked today, my cart had gone down to €74. Like, €22 worth of stuff was no longer available, so I had to replace everything. I wonder when he arrives tomorrow how much he's actually going to have with him, because things just keep selling out. I still have enough toilet paper. Like, I think I got a new pack like a week before I left, so I should have enough for a couple of weeks. But just for the oddity, I checked it, and almost all toilet paper is gone except for the really expensive rolls. And like, pasta was all sold out, and pasta is pretty much all I eat. Like, I eat a lot of it, so I don't know. I'm just gonna have to like make do with whatever I could find. And I don't want to pretend like I'm really bad off. I know there are people who are way worse off. I'm still healthy for now, and like, being in quarantine is not a big thing for me. Actually, my company closed all its offices in Ireland and asked every employee to work from home. I work from home anyway, but it's not a thing, or it's not a big thing in my company. There's a lot of people in Ireland who don't work from home, or who only work from home 2 days a week. So that's like between 2,000 and 2,500 employees that are now working from home. So that's a big thing. I personally love what Ireland has done so far. They've been pretty strict. There are people who say they're not doing enough because we're not in an official lockdown yet. But they closed schools and urged people to work from home as much as they could when we had like 60 cases. They have now also ordered all restaurants and pubs to close since yesterday, I think, or since Sunday. And I think we currently have 260 cases, and it's the same for every European country, right? We're going to go up for a while until the measures really start taking effect, which is going to be probably 1 or 2 weeks. But I think it's great that we didn't leave it as late as Italy and Spain did, and even Belgium, because it's just gotten so bad there. Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day. Today is St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if it's ever happened before that St. Patrick's Day happened with closed pubs. Like, there's nothing open. There's no parades anywhere. People are just spending it indoors. I've seen a lot of videos online of families having like little parades in their backyard with like their kids dressed up in green and marching, and like a dad pulling a wagon with a little girl dressed in green. And I think it's heartwarming to see that people, keep doing that. But so far, from what I've seen, people in Ireland are being very respectful towards the unofficial lockdown. Like I said, we haven't officially been put in lockdown, but people are trying to stay home as much as they can, avoid or do the social distancing where you stay at least a meter away from everyone. So I think that's really good. I really hope my parents stay inside as much as they can. I'm terrified of them getting it because they are a bit older. And I say this to other people: if you're not worried about getting it, at least be worried about other people. I have a couple of members of my family who are young but who have underlying health conditions and are at really high risk, and I want to be conscious of the people here that I don't know that I might run into, and might not be able to handle it. I don't know about you, but I am like monitoring every little symptom. It's like whenever I cough, I'm like, damn, is that the start of it? Or when I feel a little scratch in my throat, I'm like, damn, am I getting a sore throat? Like, everything that's going on in my body right now is being closely monitored. But I'll know more in 2 weeks. Like I said, the only place I could have caught it would have been the airport or the plane, because nobody in my parents' town in Spain had it. But I was very careful, so I hope I didn't. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I don't know how long that was because my memory card was full and I had to restart. So I think I talked for a good 15 minutes probably about the coronavirus. So on to my actual trip. So in the first week I went to England. I did 3 days in London and 2 days in Manchester. London was great. I always love London. It's one of my favorite cities to visit. I need to go back more. It's literally, it costs €30 return for a flight to London. It's so easy to get to, and I love visiting it. I always take the hop on, hop off bus because I think that's the easiest way to visit a city. And I'm one of those people, though, that just likes looking at a city from the bus. I don't actually get off the bus that often. If the weather's really nice, I'll think about it, but it was really, really cold in England. There was a very cold wind, so I didn't really get off the bus that often. I did go see 2 musicals. I went to see Wicked, which I'd seen before a few years ago, and instantly became one of my all-time favorite musicals, so I really wanted to see it again. A different cast makes a big difference, so I didn't think it was as great as the first time I saw it. Still a great musical, but yeah, the people playing the main characters I didn't think were as good as the first time I saw it, but I still thought it was amazing. And then I also went to see Hamilton because I heard so much about it. Now, I will say I loved it, but for the first half hour, I had no idea what it was about, which is apparently not uncommon, I've heard. I should have looked up what it was about, but I didn't, and all the songs were rapped, so it was really hard for me to understand the words, and it took me a really long time to figure out what it was about. And I also think it would have had a bigger impact if I was American. I can totally understand that this is a really big hit in America because it's essentially about the existence of America and the Constitution and everything about that, which is a very proud thing for a country. But it has less of an impact if you're not in that country. I thought the British people still, they very much reacted to it and cheered and everything, and it was very interactive. But I think it would have had a bigger punch if I had watched it in America. But I still loved it. I thought it was brilliant. His entire cast is people of color, which I thought was genius because the whole point is that America was built by immigrants. And that confused me a little bit at first too, coupled with the fact that I didn't know what it was about. When I figured it out, I was like, okay, but who's Washington and who's Jefferson? And that took me a little bit. But I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, it's good if you're ever planning to watch it. Now you know what it's about. I should really look up what stuff is about before I go watch it because it was a little confusing in the beginning. So then I just kind of did a little bit of sightseeing. I met Cheryl ASMR for drinks one night, which was awesome. She's such a sweet person. I got along with her really well. But it was weird because we both make ASMR videos. We're both on YouTube. I get what that's like. And yet I was still kind of baffled by the fact that she was sitting in front of me. I was like, it's so weird to see her face sitting in front of me when I always see you on YouTube. But it was really, really cool to meet up with her. And then I also met, this is another part, a little bit about coronavirus, sorry. I met up with a friend of mine. You know how I'm planning my friend's bachelorette weekend. So I met up with one of her friends who lives in London. We were kind of organizing it together. Literally that day we decided over lunch to book Milan because she wanted to go to Italy. And that's when it came out that it was so bad in Italy. So 3 days later, I had to cancel it. Then a week later, I rebooked it for Portugal. 2 days later, I had to cancel it because it was getting really bad everywhere. And I said to my friend, look, I'm not rebooking it. I said, we can't have it in May anyway. That's way too soon. If it gets better by May, we can look at booking it in June. But I have a feeling that this isn't going to get better anytime soon. And she said, no, I agree. She said, I might even have to cancel my wedding altogether. So let's just not book it and keep it as it is. So that was like another very stressful thing. I just kept rebooking like 5 rooms for 10 people and then canceling them one by one and then rebooking them and canceling them. And I was like, girl, I'm done. I'm not going to book it until I know for sure we can go. So yeah, that was kind of London. I didn't really do much else other than just take the bus and sightsee a little bit. And then I went to Manchester to watch a Manchester United game, which was epic. Oh my god, it was so good. The atmosphere was incredible. They won 5-0, which was their biggest home win in years. So I saw a lot of goals. They played really well. I immediately said to myself, I'm going to do this multiple times a year because it's so great. And of course now football is all being cancelled. So hopefully I can go do that next year. And that was kind of it. After that, I flew to Spain. I worked mostly from Spain. But I did go do some things with my parents on the weekend. Explored a couple of new places that I hadn't been to. The weather was incredible. It was like 20 degrees every day, really sunny. Yeah, one of the places that I hadn't been to before was gorgeous. Like I told them I definitely want to go back to that next time. But that was kind of it. Like the first week I worked, and then the second week, well, I worked for the first 2 weeks essentially. I took the third week off, but that's this week. We were supposed to go do a whole bunch of stuff this week, and that didn't quite work, so I canceled my vacation. I'm just going to be working again tomorrow. So there's really not much to tell about Spain. Other than that, it wasn't great. It wasn't bad. I mean, the weather was still great and I enjoyed it. I just didn't get to do that much other than worry a little bit. But, yeah, that's kind of it. I'm just going to stop rambling now. My battery's dying. Hope you guys are all okay. Let me know where in the world you are and how it's going with you guys. I'm a little bit concerned about the UK. I feel like they're not taking enough measures. They're still not closing schools. They're not, I feel with how fast it's growing in the UK, they should kind of be on lockdown at this point. But they're not. I'm a bit worried that they're going to head the same way as Italy. Let me know if you're in the UK, what you think about it. The US, I think, is starting to take pretty big measures. It's getting quite big there too, so I hope you're all safe. Stay indoors as much as you can, really. It's the best thing you can do. And I will, since football is canceled, I have nothing to do at the weekend. So I'm going to try to stick with my filming schedule and give you guys 2 ASMR videos a week to keep you busy, I guess. I don't know. Thank you as always so much for watching, and I will see you in my next